John Miller lived a simple life. He was not a hero, not a soldier, not a scientist. He was just a 28-year-old mechanic from Earth. He fixed broken machines, drank cheap coffee, and lived alone in a small apartment in New Chicago. His world was quiet, safe, ordinary. But that all changed on a rainy Thursday. That evening, John was in his garage, fixing a damaged hoverbike. Sparks flew as he tightened a loose coil. Then suddenly the lights flickered. The tools began to shake. The rain outside turned into silence. Everything, time, sound, motion froze, and then it appeared. A glowing silver sphere hovered before him. It wasn't flying. It was floating without movement, silent, cold, alive. John stepped back. What the hell? The sphere opened in the middle, revealing a soft, pulsing blue core. A voice echoed in the air, not from a speaker but directly into his mind. John Miller of Earth, you have been selected. The Queen of Zelaria requests your presence. Do not resist. John blinked. Queen of... what? The sphere glowed brighter. A beam of blue light wrapped around him, lifting him off the floor. He shouted, Wait, I'm just a mechanic. You've got the wrong guy. But the beam didn't care. John awoke inside a ship. Or maybe it was a palace. The walls shimmered like glass, but there were no reflections. Alien figures moved through the halls, tall, graceful, glowing with light under their skin. A creature with silver eyes approached. Her voice was soft but firm. You are safe. Please come with me. Her Majesty is waiting. Her Majesty? John asked. Where am I? You are on the royal vessel Verelian Star. You are about to meet Queen Saralith, the ruler of Zelaria, keeper of the Star Code, mother of the Empire. John stared at her, lost. Why me? What does she want? The alien didn't answer. She simply guided him through massive golden doors. The Queen's throne room was not like anything John had ever imagined. The floor was made of a smooth, dark crystal. Light danced on the ceiling like water. Strange musical hums filled the air, and at the far end of the room sat the Queen. She was tall, maybe 7 feet, with deep violet skin and long silver hair that floated like silk in zero gravity. Her eyes glowed like twin moons, and her dress shimmered with colors that didn't exist on Earth. She looked at John, and then she smiled. So, you are the one, she said. John blinked. What? You are the human with the genetic pattern, the one foretold. He took a step forward. What does that mean? Why am I here? The Queen stood up and walked toward him. My people are dying. Our future is broken. The royal bloodline has become weak. We cannot produce strong heirs anymore. She paused. But your kind, your DNA, has strength we lack. You, John Miller, are compatible with me. John's mouth dropped open. Are you saying? I want you to become my mate, she said softly. I want you to father the future rulers of my galaxy. Silence. John didn't know what to say. This wasn't a dream. This wasn't a joke. This was real. Why me? He whispered. Because your heart is honest, she said, and your body is strong. You were chosen from billions. I do not need a prince. I need a partner who can protect the future. John looked at the Queen. She was strange, alien, powerful, and yet not cold. He wasn't a warrior. He wasn't even special. But she had chosen him. He looked around the shining chamber, then back at her glowing eyes. This is crazy, he said. She stepped closer. Say yes, and you will become more than just a man. You will become legend. And somewhere deep inside John, something stirred. John Miller stood inside the Queen's private chamber. The throne room had been large and glowing, but this place was quiet, warmer. There were soft lights on the walls, gentle music in the air, and strange plants that moved like they were breathing. The queen walked ahead of him, tall and calm, but there was tension in her steps, as if something was not right. John finally asked, "Why me? There must be stronger men. Smarter ones." Queen Seralith stopped and turned slowly. Her silver hair sparkled like starlight. "You are not here because of strength or power," she said. "You were chosen because you are unstable. Humans carry what we call balance in their blood." "Balance?" John asked. "Yes," she replied. "We Zalarians are born from energy, pure light, but our bloodline is failing. We shine too brightly and burn too fast. Our children die young, weak, lost before they can rule." John felt a strange mix of sadness and confusion. She stepped closer. "We searched thousands of species. Only humans carry the anchor needed to save our royal line." He looked into her glowing eyes. "But I'm just a mechanic. You are more than you think." That night, John was taken to a large room with walls like clear glass. It showed a view of deep space, stars, moons, and a giant nebula swirling in the distance. A soft voice called his name. He turned. It was not the queen. It was a younger alien woman, her skin pale blue, her eyes duller than Seralith's. She was dressed as a servant. "Do not trust the queen," she whispered. John stood up, alarmed. "What?" "She is not telling you everything," the girl said. "Yes, she needs you, but not just for children. Your DNA has power. The royal scientists discovered it years ago." John frowned. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because..." She looked around nervously. "If you become the queen's mate, you will never leave Zalaria. You will never return to Earth." He felt the words hit his chest like a heavy weight. "Wait. Never?" The girl nodded. "You'll be locked in the palace, watched, controlled. You are not her equal, you are her tool." Before John could reply, the door opened. The queen entered. The servant girl bowed quickly and vanished into a side door. Queen Seralith walked slowly to John, her face calm, but her eyes watched him carefully. "Did she speak to you?" she asked softly. John hesitated. "Yes," Seralith sighed. "Her name is Lyrii. She was once part of a royal family, but her blood was judged too weak. She now serves as punishment. She fears you because your child may rule what she lost." John rubbed his face. "I'm not used to lies and secrets." "I will not lie to you," the queen said. "Yes, if you stay, you will belong to Zalaria, but not as a prisoner. You will be the father of future rulers. You will be protected, honored, respected." He looked at the stars through the glass wall. They were so far from Earth, so far from home. "I never asked for this," he whispered. Seralith moved closer. "I did not ask to lead a dying empire, but here we are." For a long moment they stood in silence. Then the queen raised her hand. In it was a glowing band, like a ring, but hovering in the air. "This is the symbol of accord," she said. "If you wear it, you begin the first step. It does not bind you yet, but it marks you as my chosen." John stared at it. He had a choice. A simple mechanic, now caught between stars, secrets, and a queen's plea for survival. He reached out. His fingers touched the band. It locked softly around his wrist and far above the planet. Somewhere, in deep space, and a rival queen saw the signal and whispered, "The human must not live." The next morning, John woke to the sound of loud drums, slow, heavy, and echoing like thunder through the palace walls. 2 armored Zalarian guards waited outside his chamber. One carried a long silver staff. The other held a stone tablet with glowing red symbols. "John Miller of Earth," the guard said. "You must now face the trial." John blinked. "Trial? What trial?" "The ancient right," the guard answered. "No mate may stand beside the queen without first proving worth." Before John could protest, they turned and began walking. There Queen's voice echoed in his head as he was led down long, silent corridors. Do not fear the trial. It is not just for warriors. It tests the heart, the will, the soul. If you survive, no one in my court can ever question your place. Still, fear curled in John's chest like smoke. He had never fought in a battle. He had never held a real weapon. He fixed engines and repaired old parts. Now he was about to be tested by an alien world. The gates opened. John stepped into what looked like a glowing forest, but it wasn't natural. The trees hummed with energy. Their roots floated above the ground, and strange creatures watched him from the shadows. The sky above wasn't a sky. It was a dome filled with swirling lights and moving stars. This was the trial ground, a living simulation created by the minds of ancient Zalarian architects. The guard gave him one last warning. Survive until the third light. Do not kill unless you must. Do not trust what you see. Then the gates sealed shut behind him. The first test came quickly. A path appeared before him, made of floating stones over a glowing river. The stones shifted with every step. John nearly slipped twice before realizing he had to walk slowly, carefully. The stones responded to fear. By the time he reached the other side, his legs were shaking, but he was alive. The second test was harder. A creature stood in his path, a beast with glowing tusks, a dozen eyes, and a voice that whispered, "Turn back, turn back," in his mind. But John didn't run. He remembered something the Queen had said. Some fears are only illusions, tests of the mind, not the body. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and walked through it. The creature vanished, into mist. But the final test was the worst. He found himself in a dark clearing. In the center stood a figure tied to a post. A woman, it was Leary. Her eyes met his, full of fear. "John," she cried, "they said if you walk past me, I'll die. Please, help me." John froze. Was this real? Was she truly here? He remembered the guard's words. Don't trust what you see. But her cries were so real, her voice, her tears. "John," she begged. "Please." His hand shook. If he helped her, he might fail. If he didn't, and it was real, she could die. So, he made a choice. He untied her. At first, nothing happened. Then her form shimmered and disappeared. She had never been real. But something else appeared in her place. A soft golden light. A voice echoed from above. "You chose mercy over safety, compassion over survival. You have passed the trial." The dome opened. John stood in the center of the forest, light falling on him like rain. Outside in the royal court, hundreds watched through holograms. Nobles who doubted him, soldiers who mocked him, advisors who feared him, and the Queen. She stood proudly, her eyes bright with something rare for Zalarians. Hope. As the gates opened and John stepped out, bruised and breathless, the court fell, silent. The Queen stepped down from her throne, walked to him, and touched the glowing band on his wrist. It lit up like fire. "Let all of Zalaria know," she said aloud. "The trial has been passed. The human is no longer just a guest, he is now chosen by fire." Far away on a shadowy moon, cloaked figures watched the broadcast. One of them leaned forward. "This human may unite the stars," he whispered. Another voice growled, "Then, he must be erased before it's too late." The trial was over. The court had watched John Miller survive every challenge. He was now officially the chosen by fire. But inside the palace walls, not everyone celebrated. In the Hall of Silver Mirrors, 3 Zalarian nobles met in secret. Their faces were hidden behind ceremonial masks, but their voices shook with quiet rage. "This human is dangerous," one whispered. "The Queen is blinded by her desire for an heir," another said. "She forgets our traditions. Our blood must remain pure." The third noble didn't speak. Instead, he placed a tiny black crystal on the table. Inside it, a moving image showed John resting alone in his chamber. He was tired, vulnerable, Then let's make sure he never fathers anything at all, the third noble growled. Meanwhile, John sat on a curved bench in a quiet garden, just outside his assigned chamber. Alien birds chirped softly in the trees above. Strange glowing flowers opened and closed with every breath of wind. He held the silver armband in his hand, the symbol of his survival. It didn't feel like a victory. His body ached. His mind spun. So much had happened in so little time. Then he heard footsteps behind him. It was Queen Sarilith. She looked different. No crown, no armor. Just a flowing robe and tired eyes. "You're still awake?" she asked gently. John gave a weak smile. Hard to sleep when a galaxy's watching your every move. She sat beside him, looking up at the moons. "Do you regret it? Taking the trial?" "I don't know," he said. "Everything here feels like a dream or a trap." The Queen turned toward him. "It is neither, but it is dangerous, more than I told you." John looked at her. "You mean the nobles?" "I saw their faces in the crowd. Some of them wanted me to fail." Sarilith nodded slowly. "They fear change. They hate that I chose an outsider. And now, because you passed, they fear your bloodline." John's chest tightened. "What will they do?" She looked at him with deep sadness. "I don't know, but I'll protect you." That night, while John finally slept, someone crept into the palace kitchen. A servant with empty eyes and quick hands added 3 small drops of dark liquid into the food dish meant for John's morning meal. The next morning, John felt strange. He ate half his breakfast before his vision blurred. The walls tilted, his heartbeat grew wild. He collapsed. Guards rushed in, alarms sounded. Queen Sarilith arrived moments later, fury in her voice. "Who touched this food?" One servant stepped forward, calm and cold. "I did, Majesty." He didn't resist. He smiled as guards seized him. Sarilith stared at him. "Why?" The servant spoke with an eerie calm. "The stars do not belong to Earthblood. He is filth. He is danger." The Queen raised her hand. The guards dragged him away. She knelt beside John, who lay weak on the floor, sweating and gasping. "Don't speak," she whispered, placing her glowing hand on his chest. A soft hum began to flow between them. Ancient healing energy passed from her body to his. John's breathing slowed. His eyes fluttered open. "Sarilith," he whispered. She held his face. "You're safe now." But this was just the beginning. Later, the Queen called an emergency meeting of her inner circle. "We have a traitor ring inside the palace," she said. "I want every hallway watched, every room checked, and send a message to the outer courts. If you move against the human, again, I will burn your houses to the dust." But one of the advisors leaned forward, his voice soft but heavy. "My Queen, if this continues, we may face civil war." She stood tall. "Then let the war come." That night, John sat in bed, his skin pale but his heart burning. He had been tested by a forest, hunted by creatures, judged by nobles, but none of that compared to this. Someone had tried to kill him. And now, he knew the truth. He was no longer a guest. He was a target. The royal palace of Zelaria had stood for over 9,000 years. It had seen wars, peace treaties, kings born and murdered. But never had it witnessed what was about to happen. Because today, the Queen of Zelaria would do something no ruler before her had dared. She would ask a human to become her mate, before the eyes of the galaxy. John stood in front of a massive mirror. A deep blue ceremonial robe hung from his shoulders. His hands trembled slightly as he tried to fix the strange golden sash across his chest. He had fought beasts, passed ancient trials, survived poison, but nothing made his heart pound like the moment ahead. There was a knock at the door. It was Sarilith, but this time, she wore no crown, no armor, just a gown of glowing threads that flowed like water, changing color with her heartbeat. She looked both powerful and soft, like a queen and a woman at once. "You look different," John said. She smiled. So do you. They stood silently for a moment. I'm not used to this, John admitted. Back home, the only crowd I ever faced was at the grocery store. Saralith stepped closer. I chose to make this public so no one can question your place again. But I won't force you. If you say no now, I'll let you return to Earth in peace. John looked into her eyes. No one's ever offered me something like this, he said. But if I say yes, this won't just be your problem. It'll be mine too. She nodded slowly. He took a breath. Let's do it. The grand ceremony chamber could hold 10,000 beings. Today it was packed. Royals, generals, off-world ambassadors, even enemy spies, all sat in glowing chairs as the Queen walked to the center with the human beside her. Galactic news drones floated quietly above, broadcasting the moment to over 60 star systems. Whispers echoed in every language. Is she really going to do it? That's the human? He looks ordinary. This will start a war. Saralith raised her voice. It carried through the chamber like a song. I, Saralith of House Virex, Queen of Zelaria, do make a rare and ancient offering. I extend my hand, not to a prince or warrior, but to a human of Earth, who has proven more loyal, brave, and honest than all my advisors. The crowd murmured in shock. John stood silently, not sure if he should bow, wave, or just breathe. I ask him now, before you all, she said, turning to him. John Miller, will you stand beside me as the father of the next royal line? Will you share your blood with mine, not as property, but as partner? John swallowed. The whole galaxy was watching. He took a step forward. Yes, he said, not for power, not for gold, but because I believe in what you're trying to build. The chamber froze. Then the Queen reached out and placed a second glowing band on his other wrist. The symbols of union lit up across both bands, connecting them with a thread of golden light, and the galaxy gasped. On a distant moon inside a shadowy war room, a tall figure slammed a fist on the table. Fools! They will create a half-breed heir, one with earth blood. That child will unite too many systems. Another voice replied coldly. Then the human must not live long enough to see the child born. They activated a signal. A name appeared in glowing red letters. Project Silencer. Target, John Miller. Back on Zelaria, the crowd was still stunned. Some clapped, others whispered. A few walked out in protest. But none of them mattered to John. Not now. Because when he turned to Saralith and she smiled, not as a queen, but as a woman who had placed her hope in him, he knew this was real. No more doubts. No more running. He was no longer just a man from Earth. He was now part of a future that could change the stars forever. The skies over Zelaria burned with colors never seen on Earth. Twin suns aligned for the first time in 400 years. Across the capital, bells sang from towers made of light. Giant banners showed the faces of the Queen and her human consort, John, Miller of Earth. It was the royal day, the day a human would marry the most powerful alien queen in the known galaxy. But not everyone came to celebrate. In the Shadow District, far beneath the palace, a group of masked beings passed a box from hand to hand. Inside the box was a black flower, shaped like a dagger, alive and pulsing. It was an assassin seed, illegal in every system, banned by all law, and it was now growing, preparing to kill. John stood in his wedding robe, heart pounding. You okay? Asked Doran, the alien guard who had become his friend since the trial. The tall warrior had skin like polished stone and a voice like thunder, but today he sounded worried. John tried to laugh. I've fixed old engines, faced death in a glowing jungle, survived poison, and said yes to a space queen. But I've never been more nervous, Doran chuckled. That's marriage for you? John smiled, then turned serious. Are you sure it's safe today? Doran's smile faded. We've doubled the guards, tripled the scans. No one will hurt you. But John still felt something. A shadow in the back of his mind. A warning he couldn't explain. The wedding hall was the size of 10 Earth stadiums. A glowing bridge floated in the air, high above the crowd. It was where the Queen and John would meet, above all else between worlds, between her galaxy and his. Sarilith stood at one end, dressed in a gown made of shifting starlight. Her crown floated just above her head, her skin glowing soft violet. Her eyes searched the air until they found him. John stepped onto the bridge from the other side. The crowd fell silent. Step by step, they walked toward each other. Every screen across the galaxy showed the moment. A human and a queen, together. But high above the chamber, behind the light pillars, a figure moved. He was invisible to all sensors. Not a man, not a Zalarian. Something in between. He took out the black seed from its case and whispered to it in a dead language. The seed turned sharp. Alive. It flew from his hand faster than any weapon, straight toward John's heart. Sarilith saw it first. She didn't scream. She moved. In one breath, she leapt forward and pushed John aside. The seed struck her shoulder. A blast of black light exploded across the air. She fell. John caught her before she hit the ground. "Sarilith!" he shouted. Guards rushed forward. Screams echoed. The assassin tried to flee, but Doran was faster. He leapt through the air and brought the attacker down in one brutal strike. John held the Queen in his arms. Her shoulder burned with dark light. Her breathing slowed. "No. No. Stay with me," he whispered. She opened her eyes just a little. "Are you scared?" she asked weakly. John's eyes filled with tears. "No. Just angry. You were right. They want this to fail." She smiled faintly. "Then don't let it." In the healing chamber, royal doctors worked for hours. The seed had released a shadow poison, ancient and rare, but Sarilith was strong. She survived. 3 days later, she stood again, and when she did, she wore no crown, just a simple ring made from Earth's iron, and a smile. John stood beside her. This time. No bridges, no robes, no speeches, just two people holding hands under alien skies, and a vow. "We begin again," she said. "Not because the galaxy accepts us, but because we choose each other." The people watched, and this time they clapped. But far away in the system of Drekar, a warship commander slammed his fist against the table. She lived, the human lives. The child will come. A cold voice behind him whispered, "Then we must destroy the child, before it is ever born." 9 months later, the stars over Zalaria shimmered strangely. Planets slowed in orbit. Moons pulsed with silent energy. Some said the galaxy itself was holding its breath. Inside the palace, in a chamber protected by 12 layers of shields and guards, the Queen of Zalaria was in labor, and beside her, sweating, pacing, scared, stood the father, John Miller, a human. John wasn't ready for this, not in any way. He had read books, studied alien birthing customs, even practiced holding tiny glowing dolls used for training. None of it helped. He heard Sarilith cry out in pain, then silence. Then another cry, sharper, stronger. The royal healer turned to him. "John of Earth, your daughter is here." He froze. "Daughter?" The healer smiled. "Born under twin moons, half light, half flesh, fully royal." They placed the baby in his arms. Her skin was pale lavender. She had small tufts of silver hair and glowing eyes just like her mother. But behind those eyes was something new, something human. She didn't cry. She looked straight at him and smiled. Word spread fast. The hybrid heir is born. Some called her a miracle. Others called her an abomination. On the warship Drakar's Edge, commanders screamed, "This child unites too much power. She cannot be allowed to rule." A vote was cast. A secret mission approved. Operation Crownfall. Kill the child before she walks. Back in the palace, John walked through the garden with Sarilith. The baby slept in a special wrap against her mother's chest, soft glows protecting her from the cold air. She She doesn't cry, John said. Not even once. She's listening, Saralath replied. To everything. Her mind is already learning. John laughed. She got that from you. Saralath smiled. And that stubborn grip on my finger, that's all you. They paused near the star fountain, a place where energy flowed in glowing rivers. Do you think we're safe now? John asked quietly. The Queen looked to the sky. No. That night, 3 dark ships broke through planetary defenses, silent, undetectable. Inside, them, creatures bred for one purpose, assassination. No language, no fear, no mercy. They slipped past guards, past lasers, past detection, but not past her. As the intruders entered the royal nursery, the room lit up. The baby, still only days old, opened her eyes, and the lights shattered. Power pulsed through the air like a storm. The assassins screamed, blinded, thrown back. John and Saralath rushed in with guards. What they saw stunned them. The baby floated in the air, surrounded by a shield of golden flame. Her tiny hands were raised, her eyes glowing. She was defending herself. At birth, the attackers were captured, the warships destroyed. The Council of 9 Worlds called an emergency session, but this time, something had changed. Across the stars, planets who once feared the Queen's choice now sent messages of respect. They had seen power, they had seen legacy, and most of all, they had seen the future. Months later, a new statue stood in the Hall of Unity, a tall queen, a proud human, and between them, a small child reaching for the stars. Beneath it were words written in 2 languages. From different worlds came one heart. From one heart, a new line begins. Far away, a child watched the broadcast and whispered to his mother, "She looks like me." The mother smiled. "Yes, my love, and that means you can be anything." Back on Zelaria, John stood in the nursery rocking his daughter in his arms. He whispered to her softly, "You're going to be amazing. Not because you're a queen, not because of power, but because you're proof that love can change the stars." The baby yawned, and somewhere in the sky, a new star was born.